Christopher Nolan might be the most popular director alive, so with the recent release of Oppenheimer, we thought there's no better time than now to decide once and for all what his best film is. In our opinion, of course.
That's right, we have Dead Wives, we have in-camera work over CGI, but some really good use of CGI, and non-linear storytelling to get into and dissect. These 12 films in our contest will go up against each other, and we will crown one winner.
So here's the full list of the 12 films we'll be talking about. They're seeded through their ratings over on Letterboxd. But without further ado, let's get into round one.
In round one, we have 2 films coming out, like 5 years apart from each other. We have the excellent war film Dunkirk, and I guess the least popular Batman movie. Oh, look at that Oppenheimer poster. It's a Dunkirk poster. I got you. A film by Christopher Nolan, and have you got one for all of these?
Not for all of them, but for 8 of them.
Oh, okay, cool. And we have, as I said, probably the least popular Batman movie. I think it's shat on for no reason, in my personal opinion of the trilogy. I just feel like it's not as strong as The Dark Knight, but obviously that's an excellent film in the world of superhero films. So it had a lot to follow up on, but I've come to actually like it over time, funnily enough.
Yeah?
Which I will probably talk about that quite a bit during these movies, because this week while watching them all, I've started to love some way more and like some way less. So
interesting.
Ewan.
Okay, I thought I already kind of knew what your rating was, so this is gonna be a lot of fun, because I had the same experience going through, but I just kind of was like, yeah, that guy was onto something when he gave them that rating, and I pretty much didn't change a single thing.
Have you made a list on Letterboxd of like your personal top?
I do.
films?
There
Okay,
is a
cool.
list.
At the end, I haven't seen it. At the end, I've also got one, but mine's private, so I know you can't see it. I want to share lists. I want to see where our rankings are overall.
Well,
like personally, because this is us combined coming together for
coming
definitive,
together,
quite on set.
And I feel
ranking,
like,
but
and I feel like we're saying goodbye to The Dark Knight Rises, because I know that you really like Dunkirk, but maybe it's one of the films that you don't like as much on the rewatch. For me, at least, it is a really easy pick for Dunkirk, and I'm actually surprised that it's like ranked number 8, really low in his whole filmography. But my pick definitely goes to Dunkirk without a question. You as well, or where do you land?
Well, you might be onto something there, Ewan, because I'm also picking Dunkirk. Psych, not picking Dark Knight Rises. I'm not an idiot. Dunkirk is the superior film. It is a hour and 45 minutes, I think, of just the best pressure and claustrophobia I've ever experienced in a film.
I'll be talking about Dunkirk a bit more in the next round, when it has a pretty tough opponent. But yeah, for me, it's also a really formative cinema-going experience, but I'll get into that a bit later. The Dark Knight Rises, I think, like you said, is a bit overhated. It does have a bunch of good components, but it never really hits the highs of some of his other films by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, all right, are you ready for round 2? I don't have the posters ready. Shit, you did intro. I also only have for one of these two.
Okay, so posters. Ewan has one of these posters, and hopefully it's the better of the two. In round 2, we have Inception and Nolan's previous release. This is obviously recorded post-Oppenheimer release, but we also have Tenet in this race. Tenet and Inception. I think this is going to be another easy one, Ewan, because, man, Tenet was a mess.
I watched Tenet last night, and I had to stop it like 5 different times just because I was so bored. I never
decreased my rating.
I decreased my rating as well. Mine was at a 7, now it's at a 6. I might even go further down.
It took me 2 seatings to watch it because it was there. I don't know what it is. There's always something about Nolan's films that hook you in. There wasn't anything with Tenet that hooks you in. Could it be just while, not to diverge into why Tenet was kind of mid, but could it be because it moves around too much? It moves around quite a bit.
I think it is, in a sense, too confusing without having anything like to show for it. When his other movies do jump around a bit, that there is a reason for it. Sometimes we'll talk a bit more extensively about that in our Oppenheimer review, but the way that it jumps around also feels like you wonder why. And in most cases, Nolan really brings it together by the end, so you feel like it was all justified. Here with Tenet, I just didn't feel that at all, that it in any sort of way was justified to be like this confusing.
And it's funny we say it jumping around is like the worst part, because Inception does the same thing, but it's justified jumping around. You know why they're all of a sudden in the middle of a mountain range vault and then you're in an aeroplane. Like, it makes sense where these scenes go, but Tenet has that mess. So that is why I'm picking Inception as my pick in round 2.
Of course, we got to.
Man, this chair is getting squeakier and squeakier by the week. I think I need to like put some WD-40 on this thing.
You said that like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, this chair is getting really squeaky. I think it's time to upgrade. I think I need a new chair.
Round 3. I only have one poster of this as well.
I can introduce. So round 3 is the beginning of the Batman.
Not Batfleck.
Christopher Man.
The christening of the Bat.
Batter for Nolan. It's the beginning of the Batter for Nolan trilogy of Batman movies. Batman Begins versus the Al Pacino x Robin Williams film Insomnia, which is also one of his really early films. 2002 Insomnia came out. 2005 was Batman Begins, if I'm not mistaken.
Sounds correct. There's no way to fact check if that's actually correct. So
no.
I think Insomnia is one that is overlooked a bit in his filmography, but also overlooked for I think a reason. When you compare it to the rest of his filmography, it just doesn't really hold up to the rest of it. I think he does a origin story for Batman really well, and really like there's no like super inventive way that he does it, and it's one of the films where he is doing it all pretty much linearly. He does the same thing, I think, in Insomnia as well, and between the two, with but I mean Pacino's great in it. I think he gives a pretty solid performance, but much like Tenet, it doesn't have that hook that actually makes me care. So it feels like an attempt to do a really great Fincher-like thriller, but it never really actually gets there. What do you think of Insomnia?
I challenge you on the hook thing, because I feel like there is a hook to the film, but I agree with the fact that I still don't care. There is a hook to make you watch Insomnia, but
yeah, sure.
I don't really care about either of the two characters. I think that it's a good performance piece from Robin Williams, and I think that it's one that people kind of forget sometimes. I think most people go, Robin Williams, great for his comedy and really great for Good Will Hunting, but they kind of forget about this one where he's a bit of a maniac, which is, fun to see, someone who's so comedic in a serious role. Yeah.
And
however... Yeah, no, go ahead.
And that shift didn't fully work for me of how it becomes a cat and mouse game a bit more with manipulation and the further states of insomnia that Al Pacino experiences. It just lost me by the end a bit more. Where I like the ideas that it had. I think Nolan does that pretty well. We'll talk about that, I think, with Interstellar quite a bit. Like how dark some of his stories get, even still being while still being pretty mainstream approachable. It's towing the line there quite well. And Insomnia has some interesting ideas, but it just never manages to fully successfully communicate them to me, so I'm actually engaged and I actually care a lot. I think it's still a solid film. This would be a better film in a lesser filmmaker's filmography, but compared to all of the rest, I think even to Batman Begins, I'm gonna go with Batman Begins.
Batman Begins for me, unfortunately, isn't as great as it could have been, because I guess at this point, they didn't know whether they wanted to go cartoonish Batman or into the more realistic Batman, because the Gotham that we're introduced to is the most Gotham that it looks in the whole trilogy, and it gets a bit more realistic as you get to The Dark Knight Rises, which is now out of this race. But Batman Begins, as you said, is a great origin story. It's really fun, it's enjoyable to watch, and honestly, Christopher Nolan killed it. Everyone enjoys the Batman trilogy, but The Dark Knight always takes the top. But Batman Begins is a solid opening, so my vote also goes to Batman Begins.
All right, that means Batman Begins advances. Insomnia is going back to sleep. And we have our next matchup in round 4. By the way, because there's instead of 16, there's only 12. That means that a couple of seats, 4 movies in total, already are in the second round by default, you know, by the higher rating, which surprisingly is like that Inception is not in the top 4 of most liked Nolan films, but I guess that's with Oppenheimer shooting up the ranks. Anyways, round 4, Lachlan, introduce us to the 2 films that are competing in this round.
We have in round 4 the film that kind of made Nolan, and that is Memento. A film about a person who has short-term memory loss and is the introduction to multi-timeline editing in Nolan's films.
Yes, don't believe his lies.
Up next, we have the film that made Nolan, a film about a man who has short-term memory loss and basically put Nolan on the map. And this is the film that got his introduction into the film world for his non-linear storytelling. So in round 4, we have Memento, the film that made Nolan. How many times are you gonna let me do this?
I was gonna play into it.
Oh, okay, cool. I was just gonna keep going, pretending I had to say. Okay, cool. Anyway, I'm gonna stop that. So, Memento, short-term memory loss, put Nolan on the map.
Yeah.
Non-linear storytelling. Everyone was like blown away back in 2000.
I'm still
up
blown
against
away.
The Following. By the way, Ewan, I didn't watch The Following because I didn't realize we were meant to watch The Following. I watched everything else, but whatever.
We had a miscommunication.
I'm putting Memento first.
Really?
I don't care about The Following. It's Memento. Just put it up there. You're going to agree as well, right?
Yeah.
There's no discussion needed.
No. Well,
move on.
Yeah. We're moving on. The only thing that I would add is that, like, The Following is really a non-budget film. And, I mean, Nolan talks about it in a way that, like, you know, for a good movie, you don't... Like, anyone can make a good movie even with no budget. And I think it's a solid first entry, but it never stands up to any of these other films that he's made. But it's a nice introduction to see someone like who goes on to do different things, do something so bare bones. But let's get to round 2, Lachlan. Oh my god, this first matchup in round 2. I don't know.
Round 2, match 5.
All right.
I realize I've been calling them rounds, and we should be calling them matches.
Matches. Hey, that's my bad. I actually called them rounds. But
that's fine. Who cares? Round 2, match 5. We have The Dark Knight versus Dunkirk. Woo! This is a spicy one, Ewan.
This is a spicy one. I'm disappearing because they take front and center in this debate. I actually I don't know. Depends on the day where I lean on this. No, actually, I do have a favorite, but it is like... It's a small margin, and I feel like that's that with a lot of these films. A lot of these, pretty much all 8 of these films that we're going to talk about, there could be a really solid argument made for that they could be the best. I mean, one of our earliest episodes, Lachlan, episode 23 of the Quiet on Set podcast, we basically debated about these films minus Oppenheimer, and what did we have in? I guess we had The Dark Knight Rises in here as well. But that was our discussion, and we made the same points there, that, like, you know, any of these could be someone's favorite, and there's a legitimate claim to it. But between the war film that was a really formative experience to me, like, I watched this, get this, I watched this movie dubbed, because it was the only theater that was playing it near me, so I had to watch it in German, dubbed. But still, the experience of the mix and the war, I distinctly remember going outside and then chatting to my mates and was like, that was one of the greatest films I've ever seen, what it did with sound. And it was the first time I was actually paying attention to sound. And for that, I'm voting The Dark Knight. What about you, Lachlan?
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because you completely misdirected me, you bastard. I see, that's what it feels like. A classic quote from The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
I remember watching both of these films for the first time and being blown away. Ooh, I'm getting emotional. These films are making me emotional because they are both incredible works. This is difficult, man.
This is difficult. This could be a final, to be honest, for me.
I love Dunkirk. I have Dunkirk, and I'm just gonna double check this before I lie. Both of these films for me are 5 stars.
Yeah.
Both of these films for me are 5 stars on Letterboxd. I love them for different reasons. I think that the Dark Knight is absolutely incredible from a comic book adaptation point of view, a superhero movie point of view, but also as a film, as the middle point in this character's story. I think it's a beautiful introduction to Joker, Harvey Dent, and Batman, and this sort of love triangle that these three kind of have. It's such a great story, and it puts you on the edge of your seat the entire time. But it was outdone by Dunkirk, and this is where I get a little bit nervous because I think Dunkirk is solid throughout. It's tense, it's terrifying, it's emotional, it's beautiful as well.
Yeah.
And I think The Dark Knight is beautiful in its own way by being so dirty and rough. Yeah. And I can't take away the performance of Heath Ledger as the Joker, because that is what keeps you engaged with that film the entire time. It's a incredible performance, but I have to say, I think Dunkirk is the better movie.
Okay, so that means we are moving into our 30-second argument time, where we both get 30 seconds to debate and decide which one's the better one. And for that, we do have a surprise guest here to make the deciding call of who's going to win.
What the fuck?
So that's... Lachlan didn't know about this.
I heard you needed some help.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Who are you gonna call?
So weird.
It's Callie Kuna. When you need a Nolan bracket, she was here for initial bracket in episode 23. We are now on episode 145, so it's been a while. But yeah, Callie, Are
you the judge?
No,
are you gonna judge us?
She is the judge. So you get 30 seconds.
So we're gonna argue our points to
Kelly.
Dude, this is great. This is perfect.
Oh, he's replanning his argument.
All right,
following the bracket this entire
Lachlan,
time.
should I go first, or are you going first?
Yeah, because I'm gonna need to get 20 minutes. I need 20 minutes to get Callie's bank details so I can transfer her money so I can win every single argument.
Okay, my PayPal is...
Alright, so I'm going first. I do have 30 seconds on the timer. You can see it on the screen here. So, Kelly, pay close attention. Let's go. There's only one argument that needs to be made for The Dark Knight, and that is that Dark Knight might be, or most likely is, the best superhero film ever made, but Dunkirk is not the best war film ever made. There's not a singular performance that really stands out as much in The Dark Knight as it does in Dunkirk. I know Lachlan's gonna say it's got Harry Styles, and that's a good argument for your side, but it's the motherfucking Joker, Kelly. How can you not vote for the Joker? That's my 30 seconds up.
Damn it, my argument has been put forward. All my cards have been played. You played all of my cards because Harry Styles was my argument, but the only card that you played really was the Joker in your deck. Here's the thing, that's one aspect of your film, but Dunkirk is brilliant from its sound design, cinematography, its story, its gripping in the entire way through. Sure, the performances are not from one person holding the entire line, but the entire lineup of actors keep this engaged story on the edge of your seat the entire way through.
All right, that's 30 seconds up. Kelly.
Christ, that was so short. That was so short. Okay, this is really difficult.
It's short time.
This is really difficult. Because I like both of them. I have a clear favorite myself. Not gonna spoil it right away.
Sure.
But I feel like one of you had the better arguments.
Okay.
And I think, based on the arguments, I would give this to Lachlan.
Oh! Yes! Okay. The upset. I think I stretched my sentiment.
Not because of Harry Styles.
Sure.
But because of his good arguments.
Fair. All right. He outdid me in debate terms, so...
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
I hope you got
but
those...
overall, I like The Dark Knight better.
I hope you got the PayPal numbers correctly, because you knocked out my number 2 seat in my ranked list with the number 3 seat in my ranked list.
At the start,
so that's fine.
Remember how I said that some films of mine have been increased and some have decreased?
Yeah.
This rewatch of The Dark Knight was probably my least favorite viewing of it.
Okay. Well, I mean, hey,
I love the movie still.
Yeah.
But
it's a great
when
film.
I watched it against all of his other films, I have to admit, the other films in his lineup are better than The Dark Knight.
Fair. That's totally fair. And I think, last time, I think The Dark Knight won a whole bracket, if I remember correctly. So this is already a big change from it. So
wow.
I like that. This is fun. All right, Kelly, we'll invite you back in when we need your services. Right. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
DM me your PayPal info so next round I can actually win it, because I'm not gonna make good arguments. All right.
You have to improve yourself. All right, see you later. Maybe.
Sure.
Bye.
Always the uncalled for comment.
That was brilliant. I'm so glad that we have a judge finally, so that it's not so.
Yeah, because this would have been hell. This would have been hell. All right, because I wouldn't have given up for The Dark Knight, to be honest. All right, so let's get into the second match in round 2. Lachlan, can you introduce us to the 2 contestants once again?
In round 2, match 6, we have 2 films that are high concept films, you could say, where when you watch it, you have to really concentrate. Those 2 films are Inception, coming as the winner from round 1, match 2 against Tenet, and the other film is a magic show, The Prestige.
The Prestige.
That is right, The Prestige. With Hugh Jackman, you have David Bowie.
Christian Bale.
Oh my god, why Christian Bale, there it is. I can't believe I forgot about Christian Bale.
I always forget his name.
It's a spectacular film. I always love this film for Bowie. I'm going to start getting into my reasoning for my selection. The Prestige is probably one of my favorite films from Nolan that I only watched a few years ago. I completely missed it in his filmography, and I watched it when we did the first Nolan bracket, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And I really fell in love with it early on into the film. There was just something about it that was really exciting, especially because it was character-driven for a first time in a while. I never really felt that Nolan's films always were entirely character-driven. They felt that they were plot-driven, and they had some massive, crazy idea that you had to get your head wrapped around. And that's obviously because films like Inception and Interstellar and Tenet all exist as a great example of his like and Memento as a great example as well.
Yeah.
But Inception, I like it. But I'm not gonna lie, people love Inception. I don't love Inception. I like it. I think it's a great, solid film, and I think it's quite fun because it's got a lot of really good action in it. And I think it's got some really fun ideas and visual cues, I shouldn't say cues, but visual moments that will stay with me for a very long time from cinema. One film would outbeat Inception. We'll get to that shortly though. But for me, The Prestige is just a better film because it has a better plot. It's beautiful, and it's gonna get an extra point for Bowie. That's just my personal opinion into it. So my vote is going to go to The Prestige. I would do a magic trick for you, but I don't have a magic trick.
You don't have one? I can shoot your fingers off.
Ewan, look behind your ear. Oh, a bottle cap. Wow.
I actually don't have a bottle. I do have a bottle cap, but it's from, like, Coke.
Yeah, definitely not.
Look, it's what happens once it, like, transgresses through time and space from down under.
Of course.
Over here. It's just natural. Everything becomes Coke as it enters here. I'm a bit flustered because I like The Prestige and I like Inception. I wouldn't say I love either of them because to me they both got a similar issue of I guess being really plot focused but wanting to be character driven, you know. To me, like the character stuff in both films doesn't work like that much. It's more like a revelation, the stuff in Prestige. It's like based around a twist and a revelation. It's like its own a magic trick in itself in the filmmaking. And that part doesn't really have me emotionally engaged. It just has me wondering what's around the next turn. How is it going to subvert my expectation and pull this trick off on me? And I feel like in its overall complexion, Inception is actually like pretty straightforward without needing like the complicated Nolanisms of like throwing you around back and forth in time and like throwing you for a loop. It's telling a pretty straightforward story, that being a less engaging one that in some of the other films, but I still prefer it over The Prestige. There's like certain sequences that just stand out a bit more, and I feel like Prestige was underrated for a couple of years, but like now just seeing that it's higher rated than Inception just goes to show, at least on Letterboxd, goes to show that there's a lot of love for it, just slightly more for Inception on my side. So we have to get Kelly back in here because we do have back-to-back another I guess 30-second rebuttal time. Kelly's back.
Are you already having issues again?
I feel like
yeah.
I feel like next round is going to be fine.
We're like going through marriage counseling and you're our counselor.
Look, once we the thing is, once we get through this round, I think we're pretty much maybe more on the same track. At least that's what I'm wishing, and that's I can't afford the marriage counsel anymore. So Lachlan, you go first. Your 30 seconds are up. He's arguing for The Prestige. It's up against Inception, and yeah.
I don't know how I'm gonna sell you The Prestige because for me, I rate it higher, and I know it's not the better of the two films for most people, but for me, there's just a special place from the performances of Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Scarlett Johansson, Michael Caine. It's just a beautiful story of a sort of friendship and hatred ship of two gay lovers. That's right, it's Call Me By Your Prestige. I'm selling it to Kelly by talking about her favorite movie.
Your time's up. Stop appealing to her so much. Jesus Christ. No.
Lachlan pulled a Ewan.
Yeah. I don't have anything in that realm. All right, I'm just gonna hit my 30 seconds. I don't know what I'm gonna say, but I'm arguing for Inception. So, Kelly, I know this is not appealing to you because there's Leonardo DiCaprio and his dead wife. It's one of his dead wife, one of his many dead wives that you get in Nolan films. But it's the better dead wife out of the two when you compare it to, I guess, The Prestige. It does have like those incredibly mesmerizing sequences, and it's one of the more emotionally engaging films that he has got going for him. And just by the end, when he spins that thing and you're just still wondering, is it a dream or is it reality? That's movie making. This is tough shit to argue in 30 seconds for a movie, but Kelly, what's your decision?
Yeah, it is. Okay, I am very personally biased because one of those movies is an entertaining movie that I like very much, and the other one is one that I would literally die for. My all-time favorite Nolan film.
I actually don't know which one it is.
My all-time favorite Nolan film?
Yeah.
The Following.
Doodlebug. The 3-minute short film.
Oh, Tenet? Oh, I got it.
Yeah. That came out later when we did our review for it. That's why, like in the last bracket.
God.
No, Kelly, what's your decision?
Okay, my my vote this time is going to Inception, of course.
Let's go! Okay, I was wondering, I would be really surprised that, like, if The Prestige were your all-time favorite Nolan film, it's gonna be an interesting matchup next round. We got Dunkirk against Inception. But thank you, Kelly. I think we'll get you back. I think we'll need you again.
Yeah, I'm gonna start like asking for 50 US dollars for every session.
Fair. Send me an invoice.
Oh yeah, I will. All right, bye.
Bye. All right, Lachlan. This is taking so long, so much longer than some of the other brackets we did. Round 2, match number 3. Movies. What are they?
Movies are Nolan's latest Oppenheimer and Nolan's first Batman movie, Batman Begins. I don't think there's much to be said in this bracket. And I don't want to say too much about Oppenheimer because we're going to be talking about Oppenheimer in our big old review. So I just want to say which one's the better movie, and that's Oppenheimer.
Agreed. Oppenheimer. Look, let's just get it over with. Let's just get all of the Batman films out of this bracket. Like what?
Bye, Batman.
We can have the Dark Knight not advance, and then Batman Begins in the semifinals. There's just something wrong about that.
Yeah.
Then I mean, it would be an issue with the seeding, but that's what Letterboxd decided, I guess. But Oppenheimer, we'll get into it a bit more. But yeah, one of the better Nolan films. And then our last matchup of round 2. I'm just gonna say it, so I'm not taking more time. It's Interstellar. I have trouble saying that correctly because I sometimes say Interstellar, and people have made fun of me for it.
Interstellar.
Against Memento, the movie that will give you short-term memory loss. Lachlan, you go first. Which one's your favorite out of the two? Because last time we did this bracket, you hadn't seen Memento before.
I like Memento. It's really good. It's really solid. And I think it's a very, very good film. But it ain't no Inception, brother.
Inception?
Which is why Inception's going to be my pick.
Interstellar, you mean?
What did I say?
You said Inception. Interstellar?
I have short-term memory loss. I forgot what round we're doing. Yes, Interstellar.
You had me there. Yeah. I'm sorry. We need Cully back.
What? No! No, you can't be picking in like Memento over Interstellar.
No, I am picking Memento over Interstellar. It's an easy pick. Memento is my favorite Nolan film. Here, there you go. So I'm gonna argue for it. You'll have to. I'm actually going for it right now. So I'm losing because. I'm saving it for my argument, but my 30 seconds...
Don't explain it, just go, 30 seconds,
30
go!
seconds, we don't have time. Timothée Chalamet is in Interstellar, so that means an immediate loss on my end, so I just want to take the time and commemorate this brilliant film, Memento, that has a pretty simple premise of moving backwards and forwards, and it is just so... It shouldn't work. This movie shouldn't work. And it just works somehow so brilliantly, so perfectly, that it just shows what kind of filmmaker Nolan is. So it's the quintessential Christopher Nolan film. I'm saying goodbye to it, though. All right, Lachlan, your 30 seconds in 3, 2, 1, go.
Christopher Nolan's magnum opus is Interstellar. Visually, audibly, it's a masterpiece. Doesn't matter what he's done in the past, everything he's ever made has come together to make this film. He broke science. He made a black hole before we pictured a black hole. The film is about love. It's the accumulation of everything he's ever done coming into one film and making something great.
Oh, fuck, you even bookended it perfectly. Fuck you, Lachlan. Okay, Kelly, what are you picking?
Before I get to my choice, Ewan, I need to get a poster like that.
Yeah, these are actually...
Oppenheimer poster.
Which one? Oh, Oppenheimer poster? That's the only one I got, but in a couple... I can give you one at the end of August. I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
I can get you
And
one.
if you have a Barbie one, you can give me one as well.
I don't
Just
have a Barbie one, and I won't be getting one, unfortunately.
Okay,
I got this for my theater. We're not playing at my theater, but... You're postponing the emotional hurt I'm about to experience, Kelly, so please.
Okay, considering that Ewan already gave up, and
No. Well, I'm just...
You know my history with Memento. So
Callie hates black and white
fittingly,
films.
I forgot.
No, we talked about this on Tuesday, so that's 6 days ago. I said how, I've never seen Memento, and Ewan said, but you watched it for the bracket that we did in 2020 or whatever that was. I said, did I? I don't remember it. So, fittingly, I do not remember Memento at all. And since Ewan gave up, my pick is Interstellar.
Fair. I mean, last time it also didn't make it into round 2, but we only had like 8 films in there. But that means in our semifinals, we got the 4 films: Dunkirk, Inception, Oppenheimer, and Interstellar. And oh my god, I'm dude, it's our audience that needs to be okay with this. I am not, but it's okay. It's just like means there's a lot of great movies from Nolan. Thank you, Kelly. I think for the rest of this, we will probably be fine. Maybe until the finale.
I hope so.
I can fingers crossed. All right.
Have a good one.
Talk to you hopefully never again,
Bye.
Kelly. Bye.
Fuck you. All right, bye.
All right. Semi-final time. Round 1, match 1 of round 3. Dunkirk against Inception. I think you've already made your argument pretty solidly, Lachlan, that Dunkirk is like your favorite Nolan film, maybe. Inception only got worded through because it lost out to Kelly's pick. So I assume you're going Dunkirk, or are you going to throw me for a loop here?
You bet, baby. I'm going Dunkirk.
Listen, which is, I think, why the matching, like the matchup here, Dark Knight against Dunkirk, would have been more interesting, because I will also be going with Dunkirk. It's a pretty easy one to vote it through to the finals, because it is, although I did say it's not the best war film ever, I think the ceiling is higher for war films than it is for superhero films. And it is a really good war film at that. So let's move on to our second final, which is between Oppenheimer, Nolan's latest release, and the modern space classic Interstellar. So, Lachlan, you can go first. What's your pick here?
I reckon you can go first.
There, okay. Let me actually have a look at my rating currently, because okay. So the thing is, I do have Oppenheimer ranked higher in my ranking than Interstellar, because I'm not a big fan of Interstellar. I think it doesn't hold up as well. I think it has always been overhyped, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but it's just not one of the greatest films of all time, in my opinion. It's just a pretty good movie. And I would pick Oppenheimer, but for this, we would not have to bring in Kelly, because you're gonna go Interstellar, and I'm gonna let you. Because that's just the person I am. I'm giving up. Instead of fueling this debate and increasing an arms race, you know, to get a rise out of each other, and ultimately, like, this Nolan bracket would enter the world, I'm gonna agree with you on a doomed future in some other solar system. And please not pick Oppenheimer. That would make me look like such a fool. But what are you gonna pick?
Oppenheimer is not my pick.
Okay.
It'll be Interstellar.
Right. And I'm gonna agree with that, although I do prefer Oppenheimer over Interstellar. I don't need another, like, this is not something I feel really strongly about. I think that they are like pretty much on the same level when it comes to Nolan. So that means our finals are between, not Inception, get the fuck out of here. We got on one side of the French side in Dunkirchen in Dunkirk, this little war masterpiece, and then the space masterpiece, I guess, over here with Interstellar. Those are our finals. I guess.
The space masterpiece, I guess.
You
hate it so much.
I don't like it.
Despising this.
I can name countless other space movies that are better. But it's okay. It's okay.
So
So
I don't want to know what you want to pick, and I think we shouldn't say it, and then on the count of 3, we should say our films at the same time.
Okay, cool.
Do you want to argue about it, or you just want to get straight into picking it? Like 3, 2, 1, pick.
I mean, we can talk a bit more about why we picked it once we picked it, because it's the final round. But
okay.
Let's just get the voting out of the way. So.
All right. 3,
2, 1. Dunkirk.
Interstellar.
What? What? Are you fucking kidding me?
No.
You knocked out the Dark Knight. Oh.
Yeah.
My God. He has reached peak film, bro. I saw recently someone do like a vote like on TikTok with like 12 or 1,500 people of what like the best movie of all time was. And somehow I think Interstellar was like, I don't know, second or even first. And it's just like, what is everybody smoking? It's just...
There's no reason it is one of the best films ever.
All right. I mean,
maybe not one of the best films ever, but it's.
Listen.
And you didn't think Kelly had to come back. Look who's back now, baby.
I was like, maybe for the finale, because Lachlan just pulls something like, I don't know, like some twist ending. Fucking.
I'm concerned.
He voted for Interstellar and I voted for Dunkirk. The movie that he picked over Inception and The Dark Knight. He's now not voting for it. Like, what is happening? All right. Lachlan, do you want to go first again? Because you seem pretty set on why you picked this over the other. So I want to hear your argument first.
All right. As I said before, Interstellar is perfect on many levels, but I want to define 3 things that I love it. 2 are quotes. The first one is, we've always defined ourselves by the ability to overcome the impossible, and love is the only thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of space and time. The film was about love, even though it's about space and time travel. And the final thing, and the reason I love Interstellar, is that the crying Matthew McConaughey meme picture is great.
Hey, we got Barry Keoghan in this, and then he ends up dying. Isn't that great? Dunkirk. Imagine there's Harry Styles in it, and he could actually act. The to-date best performance that Harry Styles has given. And if there's anything that we want from a successful filmmaker, it is getting the pop stars into our movies. So Dunkirk on this level has just succeeded, and yeah, it's emotional. It will make you cry. If you don't cry, then you think war is good. Okay.
You're way past your 30 seconds, mate.
No.
Also,
it was 1
not
second
even I used the Harry Styles card. Not even I went that low.
No, I think Kelly will have a favorite in this as well, personally. But I'm gonna hear it. You're deciding it for quite on set. What's gonna be the best Nolan film?
I mean, based on the argumentation, and considering that you're really trying to appeal to me very hard, is very off-putting.
Sure.
I will say. But yeah, I think there's only one right answer for this, and it's Interstellar. I think it's peak cinema, and it is, just like Oppenheimer, it's just the experience of cinema.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so Interstellar. This is crazy because you predicted this is going to win in our prediction thing.
Yeah.
And you got it right.
I did.
At the start, I was like to Lachlan, I was like, she thought Interstellar's gonna win. That's kind of funny. Because last time it didn't get anywhere clear. I was like, Jesus Christ.
So Ewan, I want you to share your top listing of Nolan films with me.
I got fucking face fucked. Like crazy. So my list is the following from best to worst: Memento, The Dark Knight, Dunkirk, Inception, Oppenheimer, The Prestige, Interstellar, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, Insomnia, Tenet, and following. So the 7th highest rated film in my ranking ended up winning this bracket, and Lachlan's favorite won. But maybe I'm just a bit too quirky, a bit too different with my ratings, and Interstellar is like one of the favorites. What's your ranking?
Alrighty. So I'll go from worst to the best. I didn't have the following in here, but it'd go following, Tenet. There we are. Same films at the bottom.
Uh-huh.
I have The Dark Knight Rises, Insomnia, Batman Begins.
Same so far.
Inception.
Okay.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
The Prestige. The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Memento, Dunkirk, Interstellar.
Wait, so you had Memento really high as well. It's just like that it went up against Interstellar that it didn't have a shot. That's interesting. Because I thought like you're gonna come out like, I don't know, like number 7 is Memento. So at least you can appreciate it as well. It's just, it's tough because there's a ton of great films from Nolan. We're also quite curious to hear from everyone watching what would make their finals, not just the winner, but maybe what would have made their finals. You can have a look at our bracket if you want to play it out for yourself. But yeah, thanks so much for everyone watching. Thanks so much, Callie, for being deciding tiebreaker. I did give up in the last round. I shouldn't have given up. Maybe I could have made the argument and won you over if I actually sincerely did it. But I feel like against Interstellar, you end up losing. There was no plan A, only plan B. Yeah, that's it. You can subscribe to the channel here. We do more of these brackets. We do reviews and a weekly podcast. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.